Okay, since I worked so much on this waterfall chart, I'm also going to show you a little bit of the technical aspects of how it gets made and how the macro works and everything else. You might totally not be interested in this, so you could switch off the video right now. Okay, well, the way the macro works is excuse me. So you go and you select the data. So it just takes this selection and it makes this selection into a range name. So whenever these things change, uh, then you're not copying and pasting. You're copying the named range. That's the way you can change things. Okay, and then when you press Shift Control V, goes to a user form and just starts it. Now that's not really what I want to show you. What I want to show you is after it, after you make the chart, and you can make multiple charts in your spreadsheet. Okay, I can't stand looking at this. I'm going to have to make these a little wider and then the labels a little bigger and spacing a little bigger and bold. Okay, that's enough. Okay, that was all with the input box, and the way that all those changes get made is you simply make an input box. I record the change, from the graph, and it doesn't always work well, and then you kind of go back to the input box. That's not what even that what I wanted to show you. What I really wanted to show you is all this stuff. That what it does is, let's start at the end. It makes a range that you can just graph. Okay, that's what it starts with, and that's starting in the yellow. You notice I didn't even make it all go to yellow. Here's the x-axis, and here's the y-axis. So you just would select this. Oops. Select this, and you whoops, and you go to the end, and you press F11. That makes a graph. Oof, doesn't look like the graph we're making. Then you've got to change some stuff. Okay, and when you change some stuff, we're gonna switch the row and the column. We're gonna make it into a stacked bar, and then it's a little bit like this, and then we go and change the series charts, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 stack columns, but the rest of these things are just the connector lines. So the macro just basically switches the row to the column and then makes a, oh shoot, it looks like we have a whole bunch of these because we have so many of the I wonder if I could have done this without doing it one at a time. I have no idea. Okay, so that's what you do then, and then, what you do is you take out and we've got okay, we'll just do the whole thing. We'll take it and make it a no fill. You got to do that stuff. Okay, and then you make this one a fill. So we got to format all those ones. These ones, we're gonna make that a no fill too, because that's just space for the labels. These all would be black labels now. I guess this was a 0, so this was another one we put in a solid fill. Okay, so I'm just showing you how they get really made, and those are the things that go up and down, and then you've got to do a whole bunch of formatting. That's basically how it works. This is a negative, a positive. Oh, this was a subtotal too, so you'd have to make that a solid fill. You can see that doing this by hand is certainly possible, but it's just a real pain. okay? Especially if you want the connector lines. So the macro just does some of that stuff for you, okay? And then, why don't I press Alt-L and delete that? So to get this here, here's the big problem. Now, this is a range name. This is the name of the stuff you just read, and this is the connector width, which is, and if you want to change this, you know, uh, that's making it smaller. If we make it 300 or something, I hope it would be wider. Okay, that's just one of the bars that makes it wider. Now I left too many spaces here, and these are the labels on the graph. Okay, if you'd want to change them and make it a decimal, you could do that as well. All right, that's all done in the graph. Now the big deal is to start over here and see if we have a subtotal or a total line, see if we're ever changing the sign. Those changing the signs are the things that really caused the big problem. And then you've got a whole lot of kind of true or false things. So if I'm just going to make a conditional formatting, and you know, if it's text that contains F, let's make it that one, and let's make a conditional formatting. And I was going to do this in a macro. I should really, but that's kind of a pain. T. Then let's make it, I don't know. Do we have some blue? Yellow, fine. Okay. So basically, we have here, these are the different possibilities. We have these possibilities, Shift Control 7 to make a little thing around it. Now, you can either be a cumulative or an increment, and it can either be a positive or a negative. And depending on whether it's a positive or a negative, you put a different spacing on the label, you put a different spacing on the final. And that's the way it all works. Let's do a simple, how about we'll do a simpler one? Ooh, it's going to change all my formats. I'm not going to do it right now. But if it's a simpler one where it's all, this is actually quite simple one anyway. So we've just got positive or negative, and we just put this in the base. Now I use the choose command to do everything. So this, we find a code number for all the possibilities. This says, well, take 1 times the first true, 2 times the second true, blah, 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 and you use this code number with the choose command to sometimes you have to take the cumulative amount, sometimes you have to take the absolute value, sometimes you have to add one, but basically all the formulas that you really need are in this part of the program. So you could even mess around with it and adjust it. Now, in the macro itself, if you look at the macro, here's the big one. Okay, this one called select range, and there's a section. You can go through the sections. I tried to document it as carefully as I possibly could. You have to find the minimums, and then these are all where it writes all of these formulas. All of these formulas. Some of them you can see I went through and I've put in green, and it uses, when it does the formulas, it uses the row column kind of thing. So if you want to adjust the formulas, here's what you do. You go to the file and you go to options, and you go to formulas, and you put it in a row and column format. And then you can see now we've got this, and this is what the macro needs. This is what the macro needs. So then you can just take this and just copy this formula right into the macro, and that's kind of how it works. So you can kind of do all your work in a spreadsheet, put it in a macro to memorialize it, and then put all of these different possibilities together. And I wish I don't like this really, because if I have tornado diagrams or distributions or all these other graphs, you don't really need a template for them. I think you can do all of those yourself. So that's what I'm trying to do with yourself. That's what I'm trying to show you with these videos. But this one, I just can't seem to get. Okay, maybe another time I'll figure out how you can make all these really automatic. Okay, so that's our third video on the update.